Hello children, welcome to your English class. In this session, we are about to discuss many things about fire. And today's lesson title is Fire, Friend and Foe. Foe means enemy. We all know that fire is both useful and dangerous even. So what is fire? How did we discover it? How do we control it? So let's not delaying anymore. Let's get into the lesson fire, friend and foe. Early man, he didn't know what fire was, but he must have seen the damage it could cause. He didn't understand what fire was, but obviously he must have seen what kind of damage fire could do. And we can guess he must have watched lightning in the sky and he must have watched volcanoes long before he actually began to understand and use fire himself. To the early man, as it is today, to us, fire was powerful and dangerous. And he was, in fact, very much frightened about fire. He might not have understood what the fire was, but today we all know that fire is a chemical reaction. When the oxygen in the air combines with carbon and hydrogen in a fuel, a chemical reaction takes place. As a result, energy in the form of heat and light is released, and that's what we call fire. Children, we need three things to make fire. Number one, fuel. Number two, oxygen. And number three, heat. Instances of fuel are wood, coal, cooking gas, and petrol. These are a few examples for fuel. And oxygen, of course, comes from the air. That's why when you blow on smoldering paper, the paper that was just burning without any flame, if you blow on it, that smoldering paper would get the oxygen and it burns into flame. So the third thing needed to make fire is heat. Just fuel and oxygen, they cannot make fire. If it is so, the paper is a fuel or the wood is a fuel. Wood or paper could easily catch fire because oxygen is there in the air and fuel is there. But these two alone cannot make fire. These two things, fuel and oxygen, also need what? Heat to make fire or to catch fire. So to burn a piece of paper or wood, what we do? First, we heat it. Then afterwards, that fuel automatically gets fire. And how do we create? With a lighted match or something, we create that heat, and every fuel, wood, paper or anything, every fuel has a particular temperature at which it begins to burn. And all fuels, they don't burn at equal temperatures. They have their own burning point of temperatures, and those temperatures are called flash points or kindling temperatures of the fuel. Petrol, it burns at certain temperature. Kerosene burns at certain temperature. Wood burns at a certain temperature, and those different temperatures are we call those temperatures are called flash points or kindling temperatures. And fire is a good servant but a bad master. What does it mean? Fire, as long as it is our servant, it does lot of good to us. Means as long as fire is under our control, it helps us in many ways. But once it becomes our master, means once the fire goes out of our control, just you can't imagine the damage that it does. Examples of fire servant: when fire is under our control. For example, you cook our food, or we warm our homes in winter, or we use fire to generate electricity or cook food. So there are many ways in which we can use fire. But the very fire which is very useful and advantageous to us in our daily life becomes very hazardous and dangerous once it goes out of our control. In fact, each year thousands of homes and shops are damaged by fire. You know that. And even vast areas of forest, in lakhs of acres of forest, they get fire, and conflagrations we can find, and areas of fires for to miles. The fire, I mean, forests are destroyed by the fires, and hundreds of people are killed or injured, even such fire accidents and all. So fire is a good servant, means fire is very much useful to us as long as it is under our control. But once it is become free, or once it goes out of our control, it can do a lot of damage to us. And as we discussed, we need three things to start fire. There are three main ways in which we can put out the fire. Creating fire. To create a fire, we need fuel, oxygen, and heat. In the same way, to extinguish the fire, how can we put out the fire? And there are three ways. What are they? The first way is take away the burning thing. That fuel, if you take away, then you can control the fire. Suppose they're created huge flames because of the wood. How can you control that? If you remove the wood or sticks from the flames, automatically that fire would be controlled. Uh, and the second way, means first way is we can control the fire by taking away the fuel. What the medium of flames, the fire by fire takes the help of fuel. Unless if there is no fuel, it cannot sustain. So in order to control flames or fire, what you need to do, first you take away the fuel. Any burning substances are there, you take them away from the fire. That is how you can control. The second way of putting out a fire is to prevent oxygen from reaching it. Because these are the three ways. To create fire, we need fuel, oxygen, and heat. If you remove the fuel away from the flames, immediately the fire comes under control. In the same way, if you prevent oxygen supply to it. No supply of oxygen means no fire. Small fires can be put out or smothered with a damp blanket or sack. So small fires are there. If you want to put out the small fires, you can simply put out them with a wet blanket or bag. This stops oxygen reaching the burning material. Sometimes carbon dioxide is used to extinguish fire. It does not allow oxygen to reach the burning material. So using carbon dioxide or stopping oxygen supply to the fire, we can control it. And the third way of putting out a fire is to remove the heat. If the temperature can be brought down below the flash point, because every fuel has its own uh, kindling temperature or flash point, then only it creates fire. So if you bring down the temperatures of the fuel or the heat of the fuel below the burning point, the flash point, then automatically that fire would come under control, would be reduced. If you blow on a burning mastic or a candle to put it out, in doing so, what you do actually, you remove the hot air around the flame, bringing down its temperature below the flash point, and the candle goes out. Sometimes water is sprayed on a fire, you know that. When you throw water on it, that water absorbs the heat from the burning fuel. Thus, the temperature of the fuel comes down, and once the temperature of the fuel, for example, a wood, for example, a piece of wood, once you throw water on it, the temperature comes down, and then automatically the flames also come down. The blanket of water also cuts off the supply of oxygen. You dip a blanket in water, then you throw it on the flames. That cuts off the supply of oxygen to the flames, and that is how you can extinguish or put out the flames. And there are some fires that cannot be extinguished with water. If water is sprayed onto an oil fire, the oil will float to the top of the water and continue to burn. Okay, if fuel is oil, if the burning material is oil, if you pour water, even after pouring water, that oil will come onto the surface of the water and still it continues to burn. So this can be very dangerous because water can flow quickly carrying the burning oil with it and spreads the fire. So water should also not be used on fires caused by electric appliances. When oils are burning or when electric appliances have created fire, there is short circuit and all. You cannot use water because it may uh, results in electric shock. Hmm. A carbon dioxide extinguisher is the best thing to fight an electric fire. So in case of any electric fire, what we have to use, children? We have to use carbon dioxide, and you can see even in cinema theaters, in hotels, in hotel rooms, lodgings, or even in schools and every big, what you call shopping malls, you can find these carbon dioxide cylinders hanging on the walls. We spend millions of rupees each year fighting fires, and we spend even more money trying to find new ways of preventing fires from happening and getting out of control. How to control fire? We are doing the research is going on every day and every year uh, to find out the better ways of controlling fire and to keep it always under our control. Mm. And long ago, there were no firemen. These days, we have fire engines and they come and jet sprayers will be there and water will reach to any level, any height. That is how we are extinguishing fires. But in olden days, when there were no fire engines or firemen, how they broke out, how they extinguished the fire. In those days, if any fire accident took place at any home, all the colony people would become the firefighters, and they used to form as human chains. And even today is also still it is used, and passed buckets of water from a well or a pond to the blaze, means where the flames are there, from there they will make a human chain up to water source, and from there in buckets or in pots they used to carry and pass on that water vessels. Finally, that water is sprayed on those the blaze or flames, blazes or flames. So with all these experiences, past experiences with the fire, even we have several safety precautions and rules and regulations have come today in the building construction. So fire safety certificate has to be taken from the concerned government. If you are going to construct a big complex, what fire safety measures you have taken, you have to show them, and they prescribe certain norms and regulations. According to it, you have to build any building or any complex. So every new building, especially a public place, must ensure observation of fire prevention norms, as I told you. And bands of firefighting workers with special equipment known as fire brigades are there to put out fires. Firefighters are highly trained people. They possess many skills. They cut off electricity supply, knock down dangerous walls. See, they can do all those things. We just think that what they do, they hold the pipe and the water will come. No, they are trained in many ways. They know how to stop the electricity, and they know how to, they are trained even to knock down the dangerous walls, and this they know how to spray water and other materials to bring the fire under control. They are also trained in first aid, so that they can help people suffering from burns or from other effects of smoke. The discovery of fire and its uses helped early man to cope with nature better and gradually adopt a settled mode of life. Fire is still worshipped in many parts of the world. Fire is indeed a friend, but as we know, it can be a dangerous enemy once it gets out of our control. So that's all about the lesson fire, a friend and foe. Thank you.